first, Richard Russo has been one of the best-known writers in Maine since he won a Pulitzer Prize for his novel Empire Falls, which was later made into a TV miniseries. Russo, who has lived in Maine since the early 1990s, has a new novel out called Somebody's Fool. As he told Rob when they talked at Print, a bookstore in Portland, it's a book that reflects the times in which it was written.
This is, in some respects, a pandemic document, and writing has saved my life many times, never more than I think this book and that time, because I was home. I went home and stayed there as I was told to.
I've heard different responses from writers about how they worked during the pandemic. Some said, couldn't get anything done. I just was in a bad place and I couldn't get anything done. And others said, boy, with all the isolation and the quiet, I was more productive than I've ever been in my life. How did it work for you?
The very act of writing does something to me. It takes me out. It takes me out of myself. I get over myself and start living the lives of other people, at least imaginatively. And that was just such a godsend, never more than during these last few years.
How many hours a day will you write?
Not very many. A couple hours in the morning, another couple in the afternoon. Then I read. But that's a full day for me. I'm always embarrassed to answer that question because it makes me look so lazy. But a lot of my writing life takes place when I'm walking, when I'm reading. So a couple hours in the morning, a couple in the afternoon. If it's going well. If it's not going so well, it might take more time.
Russo's first novel in this trilogy was Nobody's Fool, followed by Everybody's Fool, and now Somebody's Fool. A key character in all three books is Sully Sullivan, inspired by Russo's own father, who died many years ago and never knew Russo had made it as a writer.
You know, I've always felt kind of cheated out of his company. And when I wrote Nobody's Fool, I discovered that he was a wonderfully entertaining man. And I discovered that he was just as entertaining dead as he was alive.
In writing Somebody's Fool, Russo's thoughts also drifted back fondly to actor Paul Newman, who played Sully Sullivan in the movie adaptation of Nobody's Fool, and whom Russo became friends with.
Hey, Sully. Hey, Sully, come here. Let's just break one of the window panes and reach inside and unlock the door.
I know what I'm doing, okay? Don't say a word.
One of the reviews of the new book says, Sully is one of the great knuckleheads in recent American fiction.
Well, and he's being reimagined through a knucklehead too. But when you're surrounded by people who are just so much fun and are so entertaining, it just makes the journey so much more pleasant, especially for the reader, because the reader doesn't want to be stuck in these dark places without a laugh or two.
There is a lot of funny stuff in all of your books. Do you feel the pressure when you're writing that, you know, oh, gee, I've just written a couple pages and there was nothing that was really funny, or I've just written a chapter and there was nothing that really funny. I better get something funny in now. Do you feel that?
I never feel the pressure to be funny because the world is sufficiently messed up for that to come through without any hard digging on my part.
All you have to do is open your eyes and ears and get out of bed in the morning, and the world presents you with ludicrous, crazy stuff that you can then turn into comic fiction with a little luck and hard work.
Well said. I couldn't improve upon that because that's what the world offers.
Your novel Straight Man has been adapted into a new TV series called Lucky Hank. Stars Bob Odenkirk from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Better Call Saul, two of the greatest television shows of all time.
Yeah.
What is it like when the phone rings and someone on the other end says, Bob Odenkirk wants to be in the series based on your work?
Well, the first thing it means is that it's going to happen. the project had been around for 30 years, and it never managed to get up on its hind legs and move until Bob Odenkirk said yes. So that's the first thing that happens, is that you just need that thing to make it economically viable. And then when it's Bob Odenkirk, you know too that you're going to get an interesting portrayal.
Tenure doesn't mean you can't get smacked in the face.
Ow! Let go of the notebook!
It has original work in it.
Not if it's yours.
I can't take my eyes off of him. He just brings, it's a different Hank that he's bringing to life, but he's bringing him to life so vividly. Who could object?
We're in your daughter's bookstore, so you've got some clout here. If she were to give you a gift certificate, it's good for any book in the place. I don't know, I won't ask you what book you choose, but what section would you go to? Would you go to history? Would you go to biography? Would you go to fiction? Would you go to poetry? What section would you gravitate toward first?
Well, what I need most is more cooking instruction. I'm the cook in the family, but I have a very narrow bandwidth there too. So I'm sure I would spend some time in the cooking section looking for advice.
Speaking of that, one thing that's turned out to be a challenge for Richard Russo, under the rules of the condo he now lives in, charcoal grills are not allowed on the decks. Again, the name of Richard Russo's new novel is Somebody's Fool.